When you hear the word empathy, you probably think of something warm, right? A connection, feeling what someone else feels. But what if there's another side to it? A version that's less about feeling and more about understanding. A version that's more strategic, more in control, and yeah, a whole lot more powerful. Let's get into it.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? We're always told that being super empathetic is this amazing gift. But let's be real, constantly soaking up everyone else's emotions is exhausting. What if real strength isn't about absorbing all those feelings, but about clearly seeing and understanding them?
And this lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you've got traditional empathy. You walk into a room and bam, you're hit by this emotional wave, and you kind of get swept away by it. But on the other hand, you have what we're calling dark empathy. It's the ability to see that same wave, understand its power, its direction, but you stay firmly on the shore in complete control.
So let's really unpack this idea. This isn't about being cold or shutting yourself off. Not at all. It's about getting to a place of emotional clarity, a place where you can act with purpose instead of just having a knee-jerk reaction to everything around you. It's all about understanding, not absorbing.
Okay, so here's the official breakdown. Dark empathy is a mix of two key things. First, you have really high cognitive empathy. That's your brain logically getting what someone is feeling. Think of a surgeon who understands a patient's pain perfectly to treat it, but doesn't feel that pain themselves. Then, you mix that with low emotional contagion. That just means you don't automatically catch their feelings. You see it, you process it, you get it, but you stay grounded.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just nails it. This isn't just about being good with feelings. This is a heightened, almost tactical awareness that gives you a massive advantage in pretty much everything.
And get this, it's not just some cool idea. A recent study from the Personality Research Institute found this exact profile, understanding feelings without catching them, is super common among the most effective leaders. Why? Well, it allows them to make clear-headed, rational decisions when the pressure is on, all because they're guided by a deep understanding of their team, not just swept up in the mood of the room.
So what does this actually look like day to day? What are the actual tools you get in the Dark Empaths toolkit? Let's talk about the practical benefits, because honestly, they start to sound a lot like superpowers.
For starters, imagine walking into a meeting and instantly getting the vibe, the tension, who has the real power, what's not being said, but you don't carry any of that baggage home with you. You can spot when someone's trying to manipulate you because their words just don't line up with their emotional signals. And you stay calm, which lets you think 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone else.
And there are numbers to back this up. A report from the Global Negotiations Forum found that people who could stay emotionally detached and calm outperformed others by 40% in high-stakes negotiations. It turns out success wasn't about being the loudest person, it was about having the most emotional control.
But wait, there's more. This skill lets you deal with really difficult people, like narcissists, without getting sucked into their drama. You start to see rejection not as a personal attack, but just as information for your next move. And maybe most importantly, you get this clarity, this gut feeling that tells you exactly when a situation is turning toxic and it's time to walk away.
And that resilience, you can actually measure it. A Harvard Business Review study found that people with this kind of emotional detachment bounce back from setbacks at work a full 50% faster. They're just wired to turn a failure into a lesson, not an emotional scar.
Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The name, Dark Empathy, it sounds a little, dark. And it's true. Having this level of emotional insight is a genuine power. And like any power, it can be used for good or it can be used for harm. So it is absolutely crucial that we know the difference.
This right here draws a very clear line in the sand. When it's guided by good values, dark empathy is all about protection, clarity, and effective leadership. You're using your insight to create safety and make smart decisions. The flip side is manipulation. That's using the exact same insight for pure exploitation, deception, and control. The skill is identical. The intent is everything.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. An ethical dark empath understands what makes people tick, but they use that knowledge with restraint. They're not trying to control other people. They are laser-focused on controlling themselves and navigating the world effectively.
So what this really means is when your own moral compass is pointing in the right direction, this skill becomes a protective shield, not just for you, but for the people around you. Researchers have even found a group they call protective dark empaths.
These are leaders who build teams with less anxiety and way more trust, all because their insight helps them create a genuinely safe environment for everyone.
And now we get to the best part. This is not some rare personality trait you have to be born with. Not at all. Dark empathy is a skill. And just like any other skill, you can practice it, you can build it, you can make it your own. So how do we do that?
It really boils down to this simple 3-step cycle. First, just observe. Next time you're in a conversation, just notice the emotions at play, without judging them or immediately feeling them yourself. Step 2, analyze. Get curious. Ask yourself, why might they be feeling that way? What's underneath it? And finally, step 3 is to act. But you're going to act with intention, based on what you just understood, not on some raw emotional impulse.
Which brings us to our final thought here. What dark empathy really teaches us is that to truly deeply understand other people, you first have to become the master of your own inner world. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Is your greatest strength found in understanding others, or is it in the quiet power of truly understanding yourself?